Richard Montgomery sat in his Manhattan penthouse office, staring at his daughter's latest credit card statement. $23,000 in 1 month. Designer handbags, luxury spa treatments, bottles of champagne at clubs where she didn't even drink, just bought for her entourage. His daughter Olivia, 22 years old, had become everything he'd feared she might. He'd raised her alone after his wife died when Olivia was 8. Perhaps he'd overcompensated, trying to fill the void her mother left with material things. Private schools, exotic vacations, unlimited funds. Now she was a social media influencer with 2 million followers, famous for being rich and beautiful, contributing nothing of substance to the world. The breaking point came when Richard's assistant showed him a video Olivia had posted. She was throwing a birthday party at a rented mansion, laughing as her friends smashed expensive bottles of champagne against the wall for fun. The waste, the arrogance, the complete disconnect from how most people lived, it made Richard's stomach turn. He called Olivia to his office. She arrived 2 hours late, wearing sunglasses indoors, still recovering from last night's party. "Dad, this better be quick. I have a photo shoot at 3. Cancel it. We need to talk about your life." She rolled her eyes. "Here we go again. The 'you're wasting your potential' speech. I've heard it, Dad." "Then you haven't listened. Olivia, you're 22 with no skills, no education beyond your expensive boarding school, no purpose except spending money you didn't earn. When I die, you'll have wealth but no wisdom to manage it. So give me more business classes, hire another tutor." "No, I'm sending you somewhere that will teach you what no tutor can." Richard slid a folder across his desk. "This is a farm in Montana. You'll live there for 6 months, working, earning your keep. No credit cards, no social media, no contact with your influencer friends." Olivia stared at him, then laughed. "You're joking. I've never been more serious. You leave next week." The laughter died as she realized he meant it. The private plane landed at a small regional airport, and from there, a truck driven by a weathered man named Tom took Olivia to her new home. She sat in silence, alternating between fury and disbelief. This couldn't be real. Her father wouldn't actually go through with this insanity. The farm belonged to the Henderson family, Tom and his wife Martha, who'd been working this land for 30 years. They had a son, Jake, who was 25 and ran most of the daily operations. Richard had paid them generously to take Olivia in, teach her farm life, and report back weekly on her progress. When the truck pulled up to the farmhouse, Olivia's first thought was that it looked like something from a historical drama. 2 stories, white paint peeling, a porch with wooden rocking chairs. Chickens wandered the yard. The nearest neighbor was miles away. There was no Starbucks, no boutiques, no nightlife. Just fields, sky, and work. Martha greeted her warmly, despite Olivia's cold response. "Welcome, dear. Let me show you to your room." The room was tiny. A single bed, a small dresser, a window overlooking the fields. No walk-in closet, no ensuite bathroom with heated floors. Olivia wanted to cry, but refused to give them the satisfaction. Tom explained the rules that evening over a simple dinner of roast chicken and vegetables. "You'll work 6 days a week. Sundays are rest. Wake up is 5 a.m. Breakfast at 5:30. Work starts at 6. You'll help with whatever needs doing, feeding animals, mending fences, harvesting crops, whatever the day requires." "I don't know how to do any of that." "Then you'll learn. That's the point." Jake, who'd been quiet during dinner, finally spoke. "It's hard work, but honest. You'll survive if you try." His tone wasn't unkind, but it wasn't sympathetic either. He'd clearly dealt with city people before and had low expectations. That first night, Olivia lay in the unfamiliar bed, listening to sounds she'd never heard, crickets, distant cattle, the wind through trees. She pulled out her phone, intending to post about this nightmare, only to discover there was barely any signal. Her followers would wonder where she'd gone. Her carefully curated online persona would fade. She cried herself to sleep, feeling more alone than she'd ever felt in her life. The first morning, Martha knocked on Olivia's door at 5 a.m. sharp. Olivia groaned, pulled a pillow over her head, and tried to ignore it. Martha knocked again, more insistently. "Olivia, time to get up. Animals don't wait." She stumbled down to breakfast in her silk pajamas, earning a raised eyebrow from Jake. "You'll want to change into something you don't mind getting dirty." Everything Olivia had brought was designer. Even her casual clothes cost hundreds of dollars. She'd have to sacrifice something. The work was harder than anything she'd imagined. Jake started her on basic tasks, feeding chickens, collecting eggs, helping Martha in the vegetable garden. But even these simple jobs required physical effort and attention Olivia had never developed. Her manicured hands blistered within hours. Her back ached from bending over plants. Sweat soaked through her expensive athleisure wear. By noon, she was exhausted, but Jake showed no mercy. "We break for lunch at 1. Keep working." Olivia wanted to quit, to call her father and beg to come home. But pride stopped her. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her fail immediately. The week continued in brutal routine. Wake at 5, work until sunset with minimal breaks, collapse into bed too tired even to shower properly. Olivia's hands became rough and calloused. Her perfect hair, usually styled daily, was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore the same jeans and flannel shirt for days because laundry was limited and she needed clothes that could handle dirt. Her phone, useless without reliable signal or Wi-Fi, sat forgotten on her dresser. Her Instagram account went silent, followers beginning to wonder if something had happened to her. But Olivia was too exhausted to care. Survival took all her energy. By the end of the first week, Martha commented to Tom, "She hasn't quit. I didn't think she'd last 3 days." Tom nodded. "She's tougher than she looks, or too stubborn to admit defeat. Either way, she's still here." Jake, overhearing, said nothing, but he'd noticed the same thing. The spoiled city girl was struggling, but she wasn't running. Week 2 brought a crisis that would define Olivia's transformation. One of the farm's horses, a mare named Daisy, became seriously ill during the night. Jake found her in the morning, lying in her stall, breathing labored, clearly in distress. The nearest veterinarian was over an hour away. "I need help," Jake called to Olivia, who was feeding chickens. "Come here." She dropped what she was doing and ran to the stable. "What's wrong?" "Daisy's sick. Doc can't get here for at least 2 hours. We need to keep her comfortable and hydrated until he arrives." For the next several hours, Olivia worked alongside Jake, following his instructions carefully. They got Daisy to drink small amounts of water, kept her calm, monitored her breathing. Jake explained what he was looking for, teaching Olivia about equine illness symptoms and emergency care. "Why do you care so much?" Olivia asked at one point, genuinely curious. "She's a working animal. Can't you just replace her?" Jake's expression hardened. "Daisy isn't a tool. She's a living being that's worked this farm for 8 years. She's part of our family. Out here we don't view animals or people as replaceable just because they're not performing optimally." The implicit criticism of Olivia's worldview wasn't lost on her. In her life, everything and everyone had been replaceable. Friends, boyfriends, even staff were interchangeable parts in the machinery of her lifestyle. The idea that this horse mattered beyond its utility was foreign, but somehow appealing. When the vet finally arrived, he was able to treat Daisy successfully. She'd recover fully with rest and medication. Olivia felt relief wash over her, genuine emotion for an animal she'd barely known a week. That evening, Jake found her in the stable, sitting near Daisy's stall. "You did good today." "Thanks for helping." It was the first real compliment he'd given her. "I've never been responsible for something living before. It's terrifying." That's what makes it meaningful. If it was easy, it wouldn't matter. Olivia nodded, beginning to understand something she'd never considered. That value came from effort, from care, from investment of self rather than money. As weeks became months, Olivia changed in ways she couldn't have anticipated. Her body transformed first. The constant physical work built muscle and stamina. Her soft, pampered hands became strong and capable. Her skin, once meticulously maintained with expensive products, was now tanned and freckled from hours in the sun. But deeper changes were happening too. She learned to find satisfaction in completing difficult tasks, repairing a section of fence, successfully planting a row of vegetables, mastering the technique of milking the dairy cows. These accomplishments weren't glamorous or Instagram-worthy, but they were real in a way her previous achievements had never been. Martha taught her to cook from scratch, to preserve food, to make things rather than buy them. "You can't get takeout delivered here," Martha explained. "You learn to be self-sufficient." Olivia discovered she actually enjoyed cooking, the creativity of combining ingredients, the satisfaction of feeding people with food she'd prepared. Jake remained somewhat distant, though professional and fair. He pushed her harder than Martha or Tom did, never cutting her slack for being new or inexperienced. Olivia found herself wanting to prove herself to him, though she couldn't quite articulate why his approval mattered. One evening, working together to round up cattle that had wandered too far, Jake surprised her by saying, "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" Rich girl who'd complained constantly, break everything she touched, give up after a week. "You've surprised me. You actually try." "I didn't have much choice. My father made sure of that. There's always a choice. You could have been miserable and made everyone around you miserable. Instead, you're learning. That's character." It was the longest personal conversation they'd had. Olivia felt something shift. Not attraction exactly, but respect. Mutual recognition of each other as real people rather than stereotypes. That night, for the first time since arriving, Olivia looked in the small mirror in her room and barely recognized herself. Her hair was simpler, her face makeup-free, her clothes practical, but her eyes looked different, clearer, more present. She looked like someone who belonged in this world, rather than a visitor counting days until escape. 3 months into her stay, Olivia had become a genuinely useful member of the farm. She could handle most daily tasks independently, understood the rhythms of agricultural life, and had developed a work ethic that impressed even Jake. But tension was building between them, a different kind than the initial friction. They were working together more frequently, often alone in fields or barns for hours at a time. Conversations became longer, more personal. Jake told her about growing up on the farm, about his dreams of expanding into sustainable agriculture, about the challenges of competing with industrial farming operations. Olivia shared things she'd never told anyone, how lonely her privileged life had been, how desperate she'd been for her father's attention, how she'd used social media popularity as a substitute for genuine connection. "I had 2 million followers, but I don't think I had a single real friend," she admitted one afternoon while they were mending fence posts. "That sounds isolating." It was, but I didn't realize it until I came here. Until I experienced what real community feels like, people who show up for each other, who care beyond surface level. She looked at him. "You have something I never had. Purpose." Jake was quiet for a moment. "Don't romanticize it too much. This life is hard. Not everyone can handle it long term. The isolation, the financial uncertainty, the endless work. But you wouldn't leave it." "No, but I chose it. That's different from having it imposed on you as punishment." "It doesn't feel like punishment anymore." The admission hung in the air between them. Jake looked at her, really looked, and Olivia felt heat rise to her face. Whatever was developing between them was complicated. He was her supervisor in this arrangement. She was the rich girl who'd eventually return to her real life. They came from completely different worlds. But in that moment, none of those barriers seemed insurmountable. That evening, Martha pulled Olivia aside. "Be careful." "With what?" "With my son. I see how you look at each other. He's a good man, but his heart's been broken before by a girl who couldn't handle this life. She left him to go back to the city. He's protective now. We're not, maybe not yet, but you will be if you're not careful. Just remember, this isn't permanent for you. You have a life waiting in New York. Don't make promises you can't keep." 4 months in, Richard received Tom's weekly report and was stunned by what he read. Olivia was not just surviving, she was thriving. She'd learned every aspect of farm operations, showed genuine dedication, and according to Tom, had become one of the most reliable workers we've ever had. Richard decided to visit, to see this transformation for himself. He flew to Montana unannounced, wanting to observe Olivia in her natural environment without giving her time to prepare or perform for him. He arrived at the farm on a Tuesday morning, just as the sun was rising. What he found exceeded his wildest expectations. Olivia was in the barn, dressed in work clothes, hair in a practical braid, mucking out stalls with efficiency and competence. She didn't see him immediately. She was focused on her work, talking softly to one of the horses as she cleaned its stall. Richard watched, almost unable to reconcile this capable young woman with the spoiled girl he'd sent away. When Olivia finally noticed him, she froze. "Dad? What are you doing here?" "I wanted to see how you were doing." Tom's reports were so positive I didn't believe them. He gestured at her, at the barn, at everything. "But this, Olivia, you're completely different." She bristled slightly. "Did you expect me to fail?" "Honestly, I expected you to call me within a week, begging to come home. Instead, you've apparently become a farmer." There was pride in his voice, but also uncertainty. He'd wanted her to learn responsibility, but this level of transformation was almost unsettling. They walked the property together, Olivia explaining the farm operations with expertise that shocked Richard. She showed him the sustainable irrigation system Jake was implementing, the organic vegetable garden she'd helped establish, the improvements they'd made to the chicken coops. She spoke with passion and knowledge that had been completely absent from her previous life. "Are you happy here?" Richard asked finally. The question gave Olivia pause. Was she happy? The work was hard, the lifestyle simple, the comforts minimal, but yes, she realized, she was happier than she'd been in years. I'm useful, I'm learning, I matter to people in ways that aren't about money or status. That's new. Do you want to come home? Another pause. I don't know. Part of me misses New York, certain comforts, but another part of me doesn't want to leave. This feels more real than anything I've experienced. Richard stayed at the farm for 3 days, observing Olivia's new life. He saw how the Henderson family treated her, with respect earned through work, not deference bought with money. He noticed the dynamic between Olivia and Jake, the way they worked together with practiced ease, the glances they exchanged. On the second evening, Richard spoke privately with Tom and Martha. "My daughter seems attached to your son." Martha sighed. "We've tried to keep appropriate boundaries. But they're both young, working closely together. Things develop. Is Jake taking advantage of her position here?" Tom shook his head firmly. "Jake's been nothing but professional. If anything, he's kept her at arm's length because he knows she'll leave eventually. He doesn't want to get hurt again." Richard appreciated the honesty. What happened with his previous relationship? "Girl from town," Martha explained. "They dated for 2 years. She wanted him to give up the farm, move to Denver, get a real job in the city. When he refused, she left. Broke his heart. He's wary now of women who see farming as quaint rather than as a life. The implication was clear. Olivia was temporary, an outsider playing farm girl for a few months before returning to her real life. But Richard saw something in his daughter's eyes that troubled him. She wasn't playing anymore. The transformation was genuine. And she was falling in love with Jake, or perhaps with the life he represented. The question was whether that love was real or simply a reaction to the novelty of her situation. On his last evening, Richard sat with Olivia on the farmhouse porch. The sun was setting over the fields, painting everything in gold and amber. It was beautiful in a way Manhattan sunsets never were. "Your 6 months are up in 2 weeks," Richard said. "What happens then?" "I don't know, Dad. I honestly don't know." "Do you want to stay here or come home?" Olivia was quiet for a long time. "If I come home, what's waiting for me? My old life, my old friends who never really knew me? Going back to being an influencer seems so meaningless now. But staying here, that's complicated too. Because of Jake." It wasn't a question. "Among other reasons. Dad, I've changed. I can't just go back to who I was, but I don't know if I belong here permanently either. I'm caught between two worlds." No. The final 2 weeks of Olivia's 6 months flew by with bittersweet speed. She and Jake had grown closer, despite both trying to maintain professional distance. They worked together seamlessly, anticipated each other's needs, communicated with glances as much as words, but they'd never discussed what would happen when her time ended. Martha finally forced the conversation. She pulled Jake aside one evening while Olivia was tending to the horses. "You need to talk to her, tell her how you feel, or let her go cleanly. This limbo isn't fair to either of you. There's nothing to say. She's going back to New York in a week. That's been the plan from the beginning. Is that what you want?" "What I want doesn't matter. She has a life there. Money, opportunities, a father who loves her and wants her home. What do I have to offer? A struggling farm and a lifestyle most people can't handle long term. You have yourself, and this life you've built. If she loves you, that's enough. And if she thinks she loves me but really just loves the novelty of farm life, what happens in 6 months when the romance wears off and she realizes she's given up everything for mud and hard work?" Martha had no answer for that. The fear was legitimate. How could anyone know if what Olivia felt was real? That evening, Jake found Olivia in the stable brushing down Daisy. The mare had fully recovered and had become Olivia's favorite. "We need to talk about next week," Jake said without preamble. Olivia's hands stilled on the brush. "I know. Your father expects you home. Your 6 months are complete. You've learned what you came to learn." "Is that what you think? That I've just been here for a lesson?" Her voice was sharper than intended. "Haven't you? This was never permanent. You're Richard Montgomery's daughter. You belong in Manhattan, not mucking out stalls in Montana. Maybe I get to decide where I belong. Do you? Or are you running from your old life rather than running toward this one? There's a difference." Olivia set down the brush, turned to face him. "I love it here. I love this work, this life, the way everything feels real and meaningful. I love—" She stopped, unable to finish the sentence. "You love what?" Jake's voice was quiet but intense. "Say it. I love you." "There, I said it." Jake's expression was unreadable. "You think you love me. But how can you know? You've been here 6 months in a completely artificial situation. Your father paid us to take you in, to teach you. This isn't real life, it's an extended lesson. It feels real to me. Now it does. But what about in 6 months? A year? When the novelty wears off, when you miss the comforts you grew up with, when you realize what you've given up." Olivia felt tears threatening but refused to cry. "You don't think I can handle this long term? I don't know if you can. And I can't risk my heart on maybe. I've been through this before. Someone who loved the idea of farm life but couldn't handle the reality. I'm not her. I know, but you're still the girl who arrived here 4 months ago crying because there was no Starbucks and your phone didn't work. You've adapted impressively, but adaptation for 6 months isn't the same as committing to this life forever. They stood in painful silence. Finally, Olivia spoke, her voice steady despite the emotion. You're right. I can't promise I'll never miss my old life or that this will always be enough, but I can promise that I've changed fundamentally. The person I was is gone. I can't go back to that even if I wanted to. Then go home. Take some time in your world. If you still want this life in 6 months, come back, but don't make life-changing decisions based on infatuation that might not survive reality. It was the hardest thing Jake had ever said, but he believed it was necessary. Olivia deserved to make this choice with clear eyes, not clouded by the intensity of their current situation. The next morning, Olivia began packing. Her designer clothes, mostly unworn for months, looked foreign and uncomfortable. She'd changed too much to fit into them properly. Martha helped her, tears in her own eyes. He loves you too, you know. That's why he's pushing you away. He wants to be sure. I know, but it doesn't make it hurt less. On her final morning, the entire Henderson family gathered to say goodbye. Tom hugged her, something he'd never done before. You did good, kid. Really good. Your father should be proud. Jake walked her to the car that would take her to the airport. They stood awkwardly, so much unsaid between them. Take care of yourself, he managed finally. And Daisy. Take care of Daisy. New York assaulted Olivia's senses after months in Montana. The noise, the crowds, the constant stimulation, everything felt overwhelming and artificial. Her apartment, once the height of luxury, now felt like a museum to a person she no longer was. Richard noticed the change immediately. Olivia moved differently, carried herself with confidence that hadn't existed before. But there was sadness in her eyes, a longing for something or someone she'd left behind. You love him, Richard said one evening over dinner. Not a question. Is it that obvious? To a father, yes. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Olivia pushed food around her plate. He sent me away, told me to live in my world for a while, see if I still wanted his life after 6 months. Smart man, are you angry? No. He's right to be cautious, but it doesn't make it easier. Richard watched his daughter struggle with something he'd never seen her face before, genuine heartbreak mixed with self-discovery. What do you want, Olivia? Really want, not what you think you should want. I want to go back. I want the farm, the work, the simplicity. I want Jake. But more than that, I want the person I am there. She's better than the person I was here. Then why are you still in New York? Because I need to be sure. He was right about that. I need to know if what I'm feeling is real or just reaction to being forced out of my comfort zone. Over the next 3 months, Olivia tried to rebuild her life in Manhattan. She started college courses in sustainable agriculture and business management. She volunteered at urban farms, teaching city kids about food production. She reconnected with a few friends who'd been genuine, cutting out the superficial hangers-on. But every night she dreamed of Montana, of fields stretching to horizon, of Daisy's soft nose against her palm, of Jake's quiet strength and the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. She called Martha weekly, getting updates on the farm, carefully casual when asking about Jake. He was fine, Martha would say. Busy. He missed her too, though he'd never admit it. 4 months after leaving, Olivia made her decision. She called her father to his office. I'm going back. To Montana. To the farm. To Jake. If he'll still have me. Richard didn't try to stop her. He'd seen enough to know his daughter had found something real, something worth pursuing. I'm proud of you, he said simply. Not because you're choosing the farm, but because you're choosing authentically. That's all I wanted. Will you be okay if I'm that far away? I'll visit. Maybe I'll even try my hand at farm work." He smiled. "But, Olivia, one condition. Finish your degree online, agriculture and business management. Promise me that." She hugged him. "I promise." The flight to Montana felt eternal. Olivia hadn't told anyone she was coming. She wanted it to be a surprise, or perhaps she was afraid if she announced it, Jake might tell her not to come. From the airport, she rented a car and drove the familiar roads to the Henderson farm. It was early evening when she arrived, the golden hour painting everything beautiful. She could see figures in the distance, Tom on a tractor, Martha in the garden, and Jake mending a fence near the barn. Her heart hammered as she got out of the car. Jake saw her first. He froze, fence post in hand, staring as if she might be a mirage. Olivia walked toward him slowly, giving him time to process, to decide how to react. "You came back," he said when she was close enough to hear. "I came back. It's only been 4 months. I told you 6. I know, but 4 months was enough. I know what I want, Jake. I want this life, this farm, you, I'm sure." He set down the fence post, closed the distance between them. "Your father, your old life? My father supports me. He's even taking agriculture courses so he can understand what I'm doing. As for my old life, it's gone. I don't want it back. I want this. I want to build something here with you if you'll have me." Jake's careful control finally broke. He pulled her close, and Olivia felt like she'd finally come home. Not to a place, but to herself. Tom and Martha watched from a distance, smiling. "Think she'll stay this time?" Tom asked. "I think she never really left," Martha replied. That evening, they all sat on the farmhouse porch. Olivia, Jake, Tom, Martha, and via video call, Richard from New York. They talked about the future, Olivia finishing her degree, helping expand the farm's sustainable practices, maybe starting a program to bring other lost young people to learn what she'd learned. "You gave me 6 months to change my life," Olivia said to her father through the screen. "But really, you gave me myself back. Thank you." Richard's eyes glistened. "You did that yourself. I just removed the obstacles." As the sun set over Montana fields, Olivia sat close to Jake, his arm around her shoulders, and felt peace she'd never known existed. She'd arrived at this farm as a spoiled, directionless girl. She was leaving that person behind forever, embracing instead a woman who knew her worth came from work, love, and purpose. The transformation was complete, not because her father had forced her to change, but because she'd finally found a reason to. Sometimes the greatest luxury isn't what money can buy, but what it can't. Authenticity, love, and a life built on meaning rather than materialism. When Richard visited 3 months later, he barely recognized the farm. Olivia had transformed it with Jake, implementing sustainable practices that increased productivity while reducing environmental impact. But more than that, he saw his daughter truly happy, working alongside the man she loved, building something that mattered. "I almost fainted when I first visited," Richard confessed to Tom, "seeing her so changed. And now? Now I couldn't be prouder. She found what most people spend their whole lives searching for, herself.